Hello, hello, hello. It is me, EB, back with another great episode of Scandal Queens. And we're going to start this one a little differently this week. I want to ease you into the waters on this one, okay? So unless you're driving, I want you to just kind of maybe close your eyes and picture it. You're in New Orleans. It's Mardi Gras. Chaos, just people everywhere, drinks everywhere, lights, beads. There's a girl doing shots, and you take them right out of her mouth, out of a test tube, right? New Orleans at Mardi Gras, one of the best places on earth. You're having the time of your life. You got a joker in hand, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of your eye, you sense some movement, and you hear, "Stay down, bro. Stay down, bro. Stay down." Now imagine your shock. You're buzzed. You're feeling good. You're feeling great. It's Mardi Gras, right? You've had some beignets. You've had some good times. And you turn around and you see none other than Shia LaBeouf being pinned to the ground, pummeled by a local. That is what we were going to be talking about today. The infamous Shia LaBeouf, who continues to just spiral what is seemingly out of control. He's not the Even Stevens kid anymore. He's definitely not a Transformer Heroes. This is the man who has spent the last decade like oscillating between what he calls performance art and straight up documented violence. But today I don't want it to be just about the gossip. That is not what this is about. Okay, this is about a continued pattern, a repeating cycle of violence and self-destruction going on over and over and over again. And I want us at the end of this conversation to hopefully kind of ask ourselves, why do we let these quote unquote torture geniuses get infinite chances while their victims get left behind to pick up the pieces? As always, just before we get into things, let's do a quick temperature check and see what is going on in Hollywood with A-listers and influencers and all those people you just love or love to hate. First up, for you Love is Blind fans, there was a huge scandal a couple days ago and a bunch of drama surrounding Chris Fusco and the disturbing voicemails that were leaked by his ex, Marta Stelmask. Masisk? I'm going to get that wrong, but you guys get the gist of it. Essentially what happened is Chris has been on Love is Blind, this last iteration of Love is Blind, and Marta went on to TikTok and said, hey, I think people just need to know that this guy is a walking red flag. She shared that she had been in a relationship with Chris Fusco since before he went on the show and after he went on the show. And then when that story blew up on TikTok, she got invited onto a podcast where she played a voicemail that was absolutely horrific. And in that voicemail, Chris was basically saying, you're a money grubber, you're a gold digger, you're a bitch, don't call me back. Like, just, it was really like, you know, if you've been in a domestically abusive relationship or family situation, you know exactly how these sound. It's very much like, you better call me back, but you might be blocked, you stupid bitch. It was very much that kind of thing. So this has kicked up a big stink. I don't personally watch these shows because I've known a few people who have been approached for casting. So I've known too much about how the casting works for these programs, but essentially I put faith in none of them. These are the people who go on these shows are essentially people looking for a fast track to what they think is the Kardashian lifestyle. And I find that a lot of people who are attracted to these shows have a Kardashian personality to begin with. So who knows? It looks like they're both looking for their 15 seconds of fame and they're both getting it. But thankfully, I think since this is just the Love is Blind franchise, we won't have to listen to anything about this much longer because they'll disappear just like all the rest. Next up, we're not going to go into this very deep, but I think it's worth a mention. Prince Andrew's been arrested, baby. That is right. Prince Andrew was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in office, and people are really, really upset about that. But here's what I want to say quickly about that for people who are upset. First of all, misconduct in office can include the crimes with Epstein, okay? They're absolutely investigating trading and insider trading of secrets and all the defense and all this kind of stuff. But these charges could very well include the abuse of children. They're already saying that. Some of the people who are involved with this on the police end have already given some very brief statements. And there was a post out in the Mirror earlier today, which, yes, the Mirror is not great, but this was someone who had gone on record to say that those crimes are being investigated as a part of this. What I would also like people listening to remember is that sometimes in the UK, when people are convicted of sex crimes, especially if they have some wealth and power, they don't do a lot of time, if they do any time at all. But what they do time for is things like insider trading or trading government secrets while they're in office. So I know that people aren't happy that the charges aren't blatantly Epstonian, but we got to take what we can get, and anything that gets that man behind bars is a good charge to me, in my personal opinion. But we'll see what happens. We're going to see how this plays out. Even if nothing comes of it, it's a step in the right direction, and you guys will be glad to hear that sources are saying that Andrew was crying and saying, "You can't do this, my mother was the queen." Next up, Eric Dane has passed away at 53, a much, 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 much beloved cast member of Grey's Anatomy. And it's very sad. There's a lot of these celebrities that seem to be going at this age, and it's tragic. It is a tragedy, but I will say I could not address this topic without addressing the GoFundMes in the room. And I'm not going to go into a big spiel about this. I shouldn't need to. If you're listening to this, you're probably of the same mind anyway. But I have a low level of tolerance for celebrities putting up GoFundMes, especially when they're buying ranches and everything else. I don't know what the Eric Dane situation is. I don't even want to look at the GoFundMe, to be honest. I know they're marketing it as for his 2 daughters, which I think is also extremely, extremely manipulative. But don't give money to celebrity. Don't give money to celebrity GoFundMes. If you give money to celebrity GoFundMes, Jesus, man. I don't know how to help you. It's very sad that he passed away. No one wants that. That's horrific. No one wants those girls left without their child. But also, in the state of the world, to be someone who had access to the kind of funds that Eric Dane would have had access to, the kind of privileges and opportunities that he would have had the access to as a celebrity, we should not now be caring for his daughters. Straight up. No celebrity in this economy, in this world, should be asking working class people for money. It's disgusting. Last but not least, there is a fun little blind item that is making the rounds. And this blind item alleges that there is an A-list Hollywood actor who has now been graylisted from all the major designers. And this A-list celebrity actor allegedly has been graylisted from all of these top designers because of violent, horrific outbursts. Has allegedly gotten really, really aggressive during fitting sessions and just being absolutely awkward and horrible and even violent to designers and the designers' employees that they're working with. So quietly, these designers have just allegedly blacklisted this celebrity. I'm gonna tell you right now who I think it is. I am super confident, and this does not make it true, but for me personally, I believe it's Timothée Chalamet, especially lining up when he was saying like, "Oh, Kylie tried to take me somewhere for my birthday and I was just really being difficult and I had to apologize to her when I got there." Which, if a man tells the story of, "I was being difficult and I had to apologize," that means he was screaming, ranting, and raving like a little boy. Also seeing that through Peggy Siegel, Timothée Chalamet is tied to Woody Allen and this whole Epstein debacle. I think it's him. He very much also carries the attitude and the aura of a not nice, not likable person. He comes off as being very entitled, very unfairly self-assured. Like, he seems to be really confident for a man who's like 4'10" and 90 pounds, soaking wet, and who looks like a drowned French rat. But I digress. I believe it's Timothée Chalamet, and I mean, he's running around with Kardashians. They're not known for being really great to the people that work with him and help them. So I think it's Timothée Chalamet. Will we find out? I hope so. I hope one of these designers comes out and outs whoever this is that's acting like this, so that we can make sure we don't watch any of their movies anymore. Bum, bum, bum. All right, it is time for the scary, horrific deep dive into, are you ready? Shia LaBeouf. The chaos that was Shia LaBeouf. Now, all of this has kicked off again because at the weekend, Shia LaBeouf was arrested in New Orleans for, if you want to call it partying too hard, you can, but it was way worse than that. Essentially, what happened is Shia LaBeouf, who is supposed to be sober, allegedly, and is also a father, by the way. This is a person who has a child, went down to New Orleans to get shit hammered for Mardi Gras. That in itself, not a problem. I love New Orleans. I love Mardi Gras. I tell people all the time, best city in America. Love it. Totally get it. I totally get why Shia would want to go there. Music's amazing. People are incredible. Food, unparalleled in the South. But Shia goes down there, and Shia just absolutely wreaks havoc. He was punching bar staff allegedly, we have to say allegedly, even though there's videos all over TikTok if you want to go watch this stuff and all the people who ran into him talking about it. But he was punching bar staff. He was allegedly calling like bar staff and other people in the street homophobic slurs, which is also not new, right? In 2017, he got arrested, which we'll go into, and he was using all kinds of slurs there as well. And then he was also pulling the, like, do you know who I am routine when he was getting kicked out of places. Absolutely ridiculous. So eventually, he steps on one too many toes, and some New Orleans locals help him out into figuring out what to do. And by help him out, I mean, they beat the hell out of him. They got him down. They were punching the hell out of him. This guy got him pinned to the ground and was telling him, stay down, stay down, stay down. And Shia kept getting up and kept trying to fight. And they kept telling him, we don't care who you are down here. This is not that kind of a city. Do not get up again. Please show up. He gets arrested. He gets on social media. I don't know how that happens. I guess that, he's whatever. He gets on social media, says, free me. Free me. And sure enough, what do you think happens? And this is going to infuriate so many of you. A black woman from New Orleans goes and gets him out. And then she gets on Twitter and brags about it and says, he's not locked up no more. I got him out. And I made money on the back of it too. Saying like, yeah, I got him out and he paid me. Now he's back on the streets again. Okay. Just awful. Awful. The whole thing is an absolute shit show and a mess. And it's not new. That's the thing. I think there are some people who have not been necessarily checked into what's going on. Unfortunately, you have to be kind of aware of what's going on in these pop culture spaces, but I think a lot of people haven't been aware. So seeing this video of Shia LaBeouf, who a lot of people haven't seen since Even Stevens or Transformers, seeing him get punched in the face in the street was probably quite new and shocking to them. But it's not new and shocking to anyone who's been paying attention for any amount of time, right? Because this is a pattern of violence. And if we really want to establish that, we can go right back to 2020 and the FKA Twigs lawsuit. Now, FKA Twigs was in a relationship with Shia LaBeouf for a number of years. I'm not sure how many years it was, but essentially what happened is horrific. The whole time they were together, Shia subjected FKA Twigs to the most unimaginable tortures. And some of the key allegations that came out of this lawsuit in 2020 were of physical violence. He had allegedly strangled her. I don't even want to say, do we have to say alleged for this? This is unbelievable. He allegedly strangled her. In the lawsuit, it also said he slammed her against a car and he locked her in rooms. Okay. Now, outside of that, he would isolate her. He would force her to follow his very, very strict rules about what she could do, what she could say, what she could eat, what she could wear, everything. And would constantly subject her to jealous outbursts. Like if she even so much as like just happened to glance accidentally at a man on the street, hell to pay. Absolute hell to pay, right? Just ridiculous. Reckless endangerment was also included in this lawsuit, okay? Because what was said in this lawsuit was that on a trip back from the desert, Shia reportedly removed his seatbelt and started driving crazy, basically saying, I'll kill us both, unless you profess your love to me. You need to tell me how much you love me or I'll kill us both. That's insane. That is like family annihilator type behavior and sayings. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Men. I love that movie. It's a folk horror film. Please go and watch it. I think it's from 2019. But absolutely fascinating. And there's a relationship like this in the beginning with a woman and a man, and she's saying, I'm leaving you. I can't do this anymore. And he very much is like, I'm going to kill myself and it's going to be your fault unless you change and do what I want right now. Very same behavior from Shia LaBeouf, okay? Now, also in this lawsuit from FKA Twigs was the allegation that, and this is mind-blowing, that Shia knowingly infected FKA Twigs with an STD on purpose to punish her, to trap her. I'm not sure what his thinking was there, but this is insane. I hate to say insane behavior, right? Because when you say it's insane behavior, it makes it feel like it's uncommon. Like it doesn't happen all the time. I grew up with a man like this. So this is very 100% can see every second of this and believe it. And I know for a fact that men behave this way in relationships when they are this kind of person. So that is one layer. That's just one layer. That is just one lawsuit from FKA Twigs from 2020. Okay, but we're seeing a clear pattern here. Just beating her against the car, giving her STDs, like all just crazy, 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 crazy abuse. Now, here's where the rest of the pattern really kind of sticks out for me. Now, Shia LaBeouf has been married in the past to Mia Goth, and they have one child together. Mia Goth, of course, is in the new Frankenstein film. She's the star of the Pearl and Maxine, that trilogy with like Maxine, X, and Pearl. Fantastic. I actually really enjoy her. I really enjoy her films and her acting, and I think she makes really interesting choices as an actor. But she and Shia LaBeouf have been on and off for 12 years. Apparently, they've only really been split up over the last year. And within that, there has been an incredible amount of talk of abuse, of him being horrific, abusive, challenging, exhausting, all of the above, everything that you would expect from this person. Now, what's come out recently in light of this arrest is that apparently they've only split up, like really, really split up in the last year, because they got married. I think they finally got married around 2019. They had known each other and been on and off again relationships since 2012. But in 2019, they got married. Then 2020, COVID happens. They're locked down together. Allegedly, the abuse got really, really bad. And then she had a child with him in 2022. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. But what I think is particularly important to pay attention to here, Mia has never really come out and like detailed a full, huge list of abuses the way that FKA Twigs did. But what we do have is that in 2015, there was a video, and this video was taken in Germany, and it appears to show an extremely heated argument between Shia and Mia Goth. And during that argument, or just after that argument, Shia is recorded saying, "If I'd have stayed there, I would have killed her." That's a direct reference. And now whether he means he actually would have killed her or he would have just beat her into a pulp, I'm not really sure. There's no real way to know, right? And he probably doesn't even really know the answer to that question. But it's very obvious that I would have killed her. That's physical abuse. That's a fight. Whether he meant to kill her or just physically abuse her is physical abuse. Either way. Absolutely horrific. Basically just throwing up all the red flags that the same kind of way he abused FKA Twigs is exactly how he's been abusing Mia Goth. And God forbid, is probably going to be the same way that he abuses his child in the future. Because these assholes, one way or the other, always end up hurting their offspring. Always, always, always. Even if they have a favorite, even if it doesn't look like they're doing the same outright abuse, it always works out that way. Now, here's the real bone, or the real rub of this, and kind of what I want in this episode to focus on. We have all this, right? You've got this huge history, this pattern of violence and abuse against women and anyone else that gets in his way, right? But what does Shia do? Shia likes to build this very convenient mask of performance art, right? He's a performance artist. That's what they call him now. He's a performance artist. Because after he gets in major trouble, so like after the lawsuit with FKA Twigs, I believe this was just after the lawsuit came to life and the public started really blowing up, Shia set up a quote-unquote art installment in which he was doing a performance art piece. Hashtag, I am sorry. And the way in which that was used to sanitize his real world aggression was absolutely horrific. And here's what's super manipulative about it, right? Since he did that, all the media refers to him as a performance artist. Since he did that one frickin' spoof, that one little gag, the media now calls him a performance artist. And those who aren't very media literate, the stans and the fans who are obsessed with these people, or even just, the people who aren't really that tuned in, they don't really know what's going on, they don't know the history of the abuse. When they see those kinds of things, they see other stories come out, he's a performance artist. What that then does is when Shia is then involved in extreme public acts of aggression and violence and just all-out craziness where you're like, what is he doing? What a weirdo. He gets to say, oh, no, it was just performance art. I'm a performance artist, remember? I was trying to make you feel things. I was trying to make you think things. It's such a fucking I mean, I guess it's kind of clever from his PR team, because now he's done one performance art piece and now they can just say, oh, no, but he's like just like living performance art. I don't even really care if it is. If you're punching people, you need to be in prison. If you're beating women, giving them STDs, threatening to kill them, you need to be in prison. That's not performance art. And I don't even care if you are calling it performance art. It's still a fucking crime. You can call it whatever you want, but it is a crime and you should be in prison for it. But here we stand, and the bros and the hoes and the stands, they're happy to defend it, and they're happy to throw up that shield if it's performance art. He's trying to hold up a mirror to you. No, he's not. He's an entitled, traumatized, narcissistic, former child star who has never done the work to heal and is spending his whole life lashing out and dumping all his pain out on everyone else because he's too pathetic and weak and scared to go to therapy and take his medications and get his shit together. And that's where we really do have to stop and reflect and put the mirror back on ourselves, not pretend that a celebrity is holding up to it, but actually put that mirror back on ourselves and ask some questions. Specifically, why are we still tuning in? Why does he still have a fan base? And you guys listening to this, I know a lot of you listening to this are like me. So you're like, I'm not a fucking fan. Who could be? I've never met a fan of Shia LaBeouf. When I was doing research for this episode, just before I got on here, there was a video that a girl had posted today, a grown woman, and it had thousands and thousands and thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. But a woman posted a video today saying, I'm in a toxic relationship with Shia LaBeouf. I'm telling you, I've watched all the New Orleans videos. He could do whatever he wanted to me. I'd let him headbutt me. I'd let him call me an FAG. I'd let him, she was going on and on about how she would let him abuse her and she would think it was great and wonderful and awesome. Dead serious. And he has a lot of male fans. The bros in the room who really, 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 really like what he's doing. And we have to look at that. Why does Shia LaBeouf, a man who has been in court for abusing women, who has been filmed saying he was going to kill the mother of his child, why does he still have a $20 million net worth and a loyal following of anyone? Especially women. Like, what are you doing as a black woman in New Orleans, going and bailing Shia LaBeouf out of jail for violently assaulting a black man after he has been on record in a lawsuit for violently and repeatedly assaulting a black woman? That is where we have to turn the mirror back on ourselves and go, why? Why is this happening? A lot of it, I believe, comes down to this like dark indie king aesthetic. I don't know what it is. It's almost the same with Lana Del Rey and these followers who are dedicated to Lana Del Rey, despite the fact that she glamorizes and markets and pushes for Lolita aesthetics. She's had so many problematic run-ins with indigenous people, with black people. I've written about this before. You can go and follow this whole rabbit hole, but it's a very similar thing. And it's people going, well, he's just out here just being radically himself. And yeah, it's dark and it's twisted and it's tortured, but that's what makes it art. And it seems like that these fans, these people, they confuse volatility for authenticity. There's nothing authentic about someone just going around and spewing anger and shitting on people and being violent and homophobic and racist, which he has been. In 2017, you can go and Google this, Shia LaBeouf was arrested for, I believe it was drunk driving or driving under the influence, and he was arrested by 2 black cops, and I think it was in Atlanta, and he went on a racial tirade against them. I think that's also, there used to be videos of that you could see. I don't know if they've been taken down or not, but he went on a huge racial tirade. And people somehow think that means he's authentic. Well, he's saying what he thinks. No, he's a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. It is not difficult to spew, vomit, abuse, and anger on someone. What is very difficult is to take that anger, say he had a lifetime of anger from trauma, from being abused as a child in Hollywood, right? What is much harder is, instead of going around getting drunk and beating people up on the streets of New Orleans, it's much harder to take that rage, focus it onto taking down the systems that allowed you to be abused, taking down the people that abused you, deprogramming yourself, deconditioning yourself, deconstructing yourself from those systems which did that to you. But that's not what Shia has done. He's internalized that anger and then he's externalized it on anyone and everyone he can, especially women. This is not someone who's been to therapy. This is not someone who's doing the work. This is not authentic. It's a child throwing a temper tantrum. And I get where that confusion comes from, because Shia LaBeouf a few years ago did that biopic in which he basically framed himself as this horrifically broken, traumatized man. And I'll say this, I don't disagree with that. Okay? I don't disagree with that. He's obviously traumatized and broken, because happy whole people don't go around getting blackout drunk night after night in New Orleans and beating the hell out of strangers and using homophobic slurs on bar staff and headbutting bar staff. It's just not what a happy person does, right? This is obviously someone who's trying to numb something, trying to cope something, and is not able to do it, does not have the skill, tools, knowledge, whatever it is to do that. And so he, again, has now gone, well, the internalizing is not working. I'm going to externalize it on everyone and anything. But that biopic, because it framed him as this trauma king, this horrible, broken, poor me man, it bought him grace. People go, oh, well, look at him. He's a broken man. He's a broken man. I'm broken too. And I'm not out on the street spitting on people, headbutting, calling them homophobic slurs, calling them racist slurs, and fist fighting them. You know what I mean? There's no excuse for it, especially not for someone like Shia LaBeouf, who has a $20 million net worth. $20 million net worth. How much do you think a therapist would be for that man? A good one. What, 10, 12, 20 grand a year? Seems like nothing when you have a $20 million net worth, if you were actually serious about wanting to feel better in your life, to be better to the people around you, which Shia does not seem to be concerned with. And that's where the real crossroads is, to be totally and entirely honest, because we have been painted this picture of a certain victim. People, by and large, when it comes to Shia LaBeouf, have put themselves in a position where they are rooting for a comeback, and they're more focused on rooting for his comeback. They see all these stories. He's the white Chris Brown at this point, right? He's the white Chris Brown. And people see these stories coming out almost on a yearly basis of the crazy shit that he's doing, the crazy shit that he's done to people. And they go, oh, no. Well, I hope this is the last time. This will be the last time. Next time I see him, I really hope he's picked himself up. And they spend so much time and energy on making those allowances. They spend more time and energy on making those allowances than they do on protecting the people that he hurts. Protecting the people that he hurts. And that's the real problem. And I think that that's where we kind of have to stop and ask ourselves, like, how complicit are we willing to be in this? Because we are. As long as we provide an audience, he will continue to do this. And he continues to have money because we continue to provide him with an audience. And the writers and the media outlets and the social media platforms keep posting him everywhere because people keep tuning in. You keep watching, you keep commenting, you keep listening. And at some point, this has to stop. Like, I genuinely hope that this episode gets no views. It gets no listens, because we shouldn't. We shouldn't. Short of having the conversations about how dangerous this man is as a predator, as an abuser, we should not be filling his coffers. And when we do that, when we tune into his movies, when we buy into the stories that he and his PR person and his agent and his marketers tell to us, not only are we doing a disservice to the victims, we are very much doing a disservice to ourselves. And we're showing very much where our heads are, where our morals are, where our ethics are, where our hypocrisy is. Where do we think that this ends for Shia? Well, as someone who's been around for close to 40 years now, probably a ditch, right? I mean, he's super, super wealthy for some magical unknown reason, but wealth goes fast. Wealth goes fast. How many Hollywood celebrities have we seen, people who hit it big time, who then ended up being absolutely nothing and nowhere and having nothing? It's completely possible. It is completely possible. And when you're stuck in this kind of a cycle, where it's arrest, public apology, rehab, artistic project, relapse, these cycles, every time you hit these cycles and you go back into the cycle, it drags you down a little further. Every time you allow yourself to repeat the same shit, you dig the hole a little bit deeper. And that's what we're seeing with Shia LaBeouf. Every time one of these stories comes out, the hole gets deeper, the hole gets deeper, the hole gets deeper. And at some point, he's not going to be able to climb out of it. So what does that mean for you? And why does this have any meaning at all? Why should you give any thought to this at all? Well, there's three key things. And these are my 3 big questions that I want you to take away this week, and I want you to walk away with, and I want you to sit with and think about for yourself and what they mean for you. Number 1, at what point does supporting someone's mental health become enabling their violence? Where is that line? Like, at what point are you not just allowing them to be and express themselves? And at what point are you actually saying, yeah, buddy, high five, thumbs up, keep doing what you're doing, even if that includes hitting women and destroying yourself? Where is that line between enabling and supporting? And how do you know when you've crossed it? Number 2, second big thing. If Shia LaBeouf weren't a quote-unquote talented actor, he was funny, and let's be totally honest, he was funny in Even Stevens for what it was, but he's not like he's not Richard Burton, let's be totally honest. But if Shia LaBeouf, if he weren't an actor and he weren't a celebrity and he hadn't been a part of so many people's childhoods, do we think he'd be in prison by now? Do you think he'd be in prison if he didn't have a $20 million net worth and wasn't a nostalgic part of people's childhoods or hadn't been in Transformers? Or do you think if he didn't have any of that and he was just the white trash guy that he's trying to be, which I'm allowed to say, I lived in a trailer, I'm allowed to say white trash. It's a choice. Being white trash is a choice. Would he just be that? Would he just be some unknown, like, lost to the prison system rollabout? Or do you think he would be different? Do you think he wouldn't even be like this because maybe he would have missed out on the trauma that made him this way? It's a genuine question. I would genuinely be interested to know what you guys think. Last but not least, we as consumers, we have to be smarter about this stuff, especially in light of the Epstein revelations. We have to be so much smarter about the content we're ingesting, the celebrities we support, the film industries that we support, all media that we support, with our attention. Your attention is money and support. It doesn't matter if you don't go and buy tickets to sit in the movie theaters. If you just watch something on Netflix or you just follow them on Instagram, all of those things, any attention you give a celebrity is money. An ounce of attention is money. So how do we, as consumers, stop participating in these redemption arc, sorry, I just really want to hit women cycles that keep happening? How do we finally put our foots down and start saying, right, that is it. These men, these celebrity men who consistently and regularly abuse the public, abuse women, abuse themselves, we're not doing it anymore. We're not giving them any bandwidth. We're not giving them any free fucking space. We're not giving them a platform. That's done. How do we do that? How do we stop participating in this disgusting game? That's what I want you to walk away from this episode with this week, and that's what I want you to think about, and that's what I want you to consider as we continue to watch the Shia LaBeouf story spin out of control, because unless the brakes are put on something expeditiously, as in yesterday, this will not stop. It will hurry, it will get worse, it will speed up, it will become more intense, and it will get worse. It will get to a point where a line is crossed that no one can come back and I hope that is not someone's life being taken. But you have to understand that we're on an escalating path at this point. We are on an escalating path with Shia LaBeouf. And I genuinely, I know no one listening to this wants that. I loved Even Stevens. Even Stevens was one of my favorite shows growing up as a kid. Like, when I was quite young, I would come home and watch that on Disney once. Like, we used to get free Disney on the weekends kind of thing with the cable box. And then eventually we got the Disney Channel when I was like in middle school or something. And I used to watch Even Stevens all the time. Loved it. Adored it. It's tragic to see Shia like this, but then I look at people like FKA Twigs and Mia Goth, and I think it's even more tragic that had to happen to them, because one quote-unquote man at his big age couldn't get his shit together, wasn't strong enough to manage himself, didn't have the power to handle himself, to get the help he needed to take care of himself. And that's kind of the real super frustrating, super angering tragedy of it all. But I suppose we'll see what happens. I just hope Mia Goth has the sense to stay away from him forever after this. And that is going to be it for this week's episode of Scandal Queens. Thank you so much. I hope you found it enlightening or informative or made you think about something a little bit differently or helped you break down that cult of celebrity a little bit more. If you want to join the inner circle and get some bonus deep dives on this and all the other topics that I talk about, you can head over to patreon.com/Nooska, where we are building a podcast network. We're going to have tons of different podcasts talking about all the different kinds of stuff that you love to chat about, you love to listen to, all your special interests. So far, we have this one, Scandal Queens, which is hosted by me, and we have Nooska, which is much more serious, and it's about mental health and family and being neurodivergent in this chaos shit show of a world. And that is hosted by myself and my best friend Connie in New Zealand. Very fun. So please head over to patreon.com/Nooska if you want to support that and get some more there. If you really want to go deep into these subjects, especially on things like Tommy Mottola and the Epstein files, if you want breakdowns of the failure of Taylor Swift's marketing team over the last year and how this could be the end of her brand, then head over to Substack. It's therealebjohnson.substack.com. I have tons of deep dives over there. And I also have my whole library of narcissism articles and essays, including narcissistic families, narcissistic relationships, narcissistic parents, and lots of mental health and personal development stuff if you want that. And most of that is free, but there is a paid option that gives you full access. For $5 a month, you get full access to everything on Substack, which includes, some bonus podcast episodes and all kinds of good stuff. For everything else, you can follow the chaos on Instagram at Scandal Queens Podcast, or you can follow me on TikTok for deep dives, breakdowns, and hot takes at The Real E.B. Johnson. And if you love the show and hate scandals, why not leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts? It helps me keep the light on, the lights on, and it helps keep the tea hot here at Scandal Queens and everywhere else you hear me yapping daily or weekly. So please, by all means, go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a quick 5-star review. And for everything else, you know where to find me. You can always email me, visit my website, find me on TikTok. I want to know what you feel about this episode. So leave your comments. Go ahead and let me know what you thought on Substack, on Instagram, on TikTok. And next week, I will be back with another great episode. But until then, you know what it is. Stay scandalous, queens. Bye-bye.